to episode 1 of the Battlefield podcast. On this episode, all we want to do is introduce ourselves and tell you the purpose of our podcast. I'll go first. My name is Christopher Shaw. I'm a man of God. I love the Lord. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife, Maria. I have 3 wonderful children, Christian, Serenity, and Isabel. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm the founder of BeInfinite.co. And I am blessed to have met these 2 brothers right here to share this stage with me. We'll start with Dr. Nichols.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Rick Nichols. I'm the lead pastor at Wildwood Baptist Church. I've been married to my beautiful bride, Amy, for 22 years. We have 2 kids. One is off to 2nd year of college. Another's graduating, so we're about to be empty nesters again. It's just a blessing to be able to join you guys and to sit on the stage with you guys and for us to discuss things that hopefully be really beneficial as we try to help each other love better.
I love that. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Mark Mills. I'm glad to be here too. I am a former United States Marine, did some time in law enforcement, and I've been in ministry in some capacity since the year 2000. I'm married to a beautiful woman named Lori. We've been married 35 years. We have 4 children and 8 grandchildren, and life is awesome.
That's good. That's good. Well, you've met us. You've heard a little bit about us. We'll talk about our testimonials that we've all shared individually later on. But right now, we want to talk about the need for the podcast, why we wanted to create this, why God allowed us to create this, and the need for it.
Hey, Chris, why the battlefield?
That's a good question, and I love it. Well, the battlefield, we're all going through these individual battles sometimes, and we don't realize that other people are going through the same battles as well. Even if it doesn't exactly mirror your battle, you do have somebody that you can connect with. And a lot of times we don't realize that. So we wanted to create an open space to where we can talk to people, get to know them, and see them on the battlefield, see who they are, see them as a human first before we go to even their sins. Just talk to them, connect with them, and that's the purpose of the battlefield from my perspective. Doctor?
I think that it's too often, because of course we're all Christians, and so too often what happens is within the church or with Christians, whenever we talk to other people, if they don't agree with like exactly what we believe or something, we automatically start treating them as if they're enemies. The wonderful things about Scripture, though, is that it says that we're supposed to love our enemies. Like, even if somebody is our enemy, we're supposed to love them. So we want a platform where we can have a compassionate Christianity, where we can talk to people that have different views and see things differently. And rather than seeing them as enemies that we should attack, we see them as potentially even future brothers and sisters in Christ that we should love on, but that we should at least try to understand so that we can avoid some logical fallacies. We can avoid, stereotyping people or having straw man arguments, those types of things. And so for me, that's one of the great things, just to lovingly bring biblical truth to bear on big subjects.
Me, the battlefield is where all life and conflict comes to a head. It is a decisive moment where there will be winners and there will be losers. It is a moment where all of life and what you've done up to that point comes into play. It's a moment when all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds are striving together to a desired mission accomplishment. And the point of our Battlefield podcast is to help each other to survive the struggles that we face in today's world. And so it's an exciting time, and we all want to survive. We want to come out of the other end of this thing. And so stay tuned. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. And the value add of this podcast, we want to pack it with as much value as possible. And from our end, the value is as simply as just listening and trying to understand where someone is coming from their unique perspective. you know, because even like me and my wife, I mean, you guys can attest to this too. We love them to death, right?
Yes.
But there's stuff that we don't agree on just because they grew up different. They are a different person, but we had to learn to circumvent that, and for a common goal. What are we really trying to accomplish? So with the value, we want to show that and kind of, I guess, walk people through that to where we can teach like a roadmap. Mm-hmm. How do you connect with somebody who obviously y'all may have a lot of differences, but still, like you said, see them as a human. And we want to be able to impart that on you. And I feel these guys talk about how long they've been married. I was just like, that's really impressive to be able to sit here with you guys and be with that, because sometimes, like me and my wife, we feel like we're going through the hardest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. And hold on, these guys have been, so there is a light in the tunnel, and we want to show you guys that as well. It's part of the value that we want to bring in the podcast.
Hey, Chris, why do we need another podcast?
That's true. There are a lot of podcasts out there.
Yeah,
there are loads of podcasts, and I'm actually gonna phone in a friend and have Dr. Rick Nichols.
I like that. Pass it off.
Yeah, take this off.
Bird a little bit. Yeah, I think that a lot of times in the podcast, that even if they're Christian based or that they claim to be kind of unbiased, is that they really aren't. Like they kind of it's like a sneak attack. It's like an ambush. You got to have a guest on to ambush them, and we don't want to do that. We want to engage people on an honest human level. Really ask questions to understand. And then we want to bring in some biblical truth and of course our perspective, but always, like, one of our highest goals is to always have encounters be marked by compassion, mercy, love, forgiveness, those things, while still holding on to the truth. It seems to be that a lot of let me back up. John 1:14 says that Jesus came full of grace and truth, and a lot of Christians in churches, they tend to kind of go to one extreme or the other. They focus so much on truth that they become graceless instead of graceful. And so what happens is then they weaponize Scripture. They tend to slip into a lot of hateful things, a lot of hateful rhetoric, destructive things. But because they believe they're right, they feel justified in that. On the other side is you have some that slip over to where it's all grace and no truth. And for those, they don't really, stand on truth. They don't really stand on biblical principles because they're trying so hard to be accepting and to be that. And so what we want to do is bring it back to the middle, full of both grace and truth, imitating Christ, seeking to love those that maybe are being unlovely at the moment. I mean, you look at all the people Jesus encountered.
Yeah.
You look at people that they had some stuff going on in their life, and even had the other religious people of the day like ready to stone them in some instances. And Jesus steps in and he defends them. He shows them great mercy and forgiveness. But then he also would sometimes depart from them by saying, "Go and sin no more." Like, he identified their sin, but he loved them even though they were in the middle of it. And so, I think that's one of the reasons we need a podcast where we can demonstrate some of that on a difficult, divisive issues, demonstrate how we're supposed to love people. Like, we imitate Christ in the way we deal with that.
Yes, yeah. I agree. Mark, what you got?
Mark, why should we have another podcast?
Well, it seems like the world that we live in is so divided right now. Yeah. You have people devolving into camps and tribes, they call it, with everybody believing the same thing and not allowing other things to be believed. And the problem is nobody's talking anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Nobody is talking about the difficult issues without attacking each other. And what we need is to get back to that point where, hey, we're all in this struggle together. We all have different beliefs. We all have been raised in ways, but we can all still get along. Mm-hmm. And there is truth, whether you believe it or not. And the truth always wins. It never loses. And so I think if we can open up that dialogue that where people are divisive now, it will get us further down the road.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Now, we talked about the need, the value, and let's talk about some of the goals we want to accomplish. Because without a clear goal, I mean, we're just waning and just doing anything out here, right? So some of the goals we want to do, we want to be, and Pastor Mark came up with this. And matter of fact, I'm gonna let you say it. What, raw? Let us
Yeah.
know.
So the point, the goal of this podcast, or part of it, is to be real, raw, relevant, and ruthless. Pastor Rick taught me those alliteration word you used. Anyway, so I was kind of proud of that. But anyway, the topics we want to be real. We don't want to candy coat anything. We want to talk about real issues, things that we face and things that we have questions about. And when we talk to the raw about it, we want to get to the truth about it. Things that hurt, things that we don't understand, things that we may not even like or agree with, but still have to deal with. And then we want to get to the relevant part, is how is it going to affect our life?
Yeah.
And the ruthless part is when you decide your course of action, you decide how you're going to obey, to be ruthless about it. Take no prisoners. Get to the end of that goal for yourself.
There you go.
And we really want to leave you with something when you sign off at the end of this podcast.
Yes.
Something that you can use today or the rest of your life. We don't want it just to be noise for you on your drive, but something that can actually help you in some way.
Yes, and eventually we're going to have it to where we're going live a lot more, to where you can ask your questions live, and we'll have guests, and we'll have that formatted to where you can be more interactive. And we're building some more things too, to where we're going to bring in that interactiveness to life as well, if that's a word, interactiveness.
Yeah.
But no, man, I was just thinking, the way you explained that, and I loved how you put the ruthless on there, because me and Pastor were talking before, and the ruthless, sometimes people would take that as like, oh, Chris, you're already ruthless. You're already going after us with every little thing. But the way we're iterating it is that you're actually being ruthless with yourself, like holding yourself accountable to really go after what you believe in. Because like you said, I love how you said there is truth.
Yeah. There
is a truth, whether we want to admit it or not. And 9 times out of 10, in order to achieve and clarify that truth, you gotta deny yourself. You gotta go through some things. And that battle is one of the most ruthless, as far as you going up and denying yourself and giving up things to find that truth. But it will be the most beautiful thing in the end. And we've all experienced, even you guys have been through something that seemed so hard, and then when you go through it, it just made you a better person. And that's exactly what we want from this podcast. We want from you guys. We want from us. We're going to grow together, and that's part of it. If we weren't willing to grow, I don't think we would. We don't even need to be on this. Right? Do you guys agree?
We don't start out with all the answers.
Yeah, we don't. You're right. We have to look for them as well, and we're on a personal journey as well. That's the beautiful thing. I feel that we can really show, be that light, be that example of what we're talking about, instead of just, like you said, some people just throwing the truth at people. This is, I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I'm excited to have, some more brothers in the fight who are willing to get up here and go through this with us, because some of the conversations that we are going to have in future topics may be with people that don't agree with nothing we have to say. You know what I'm saying? And we still have to kind of navigate that, and we'll be praying about that. But because, some things that we don't feel trigger us can trigger other people.
Sure.
So we want to be aware of that as well. So some of the future topics that we got going on.
I think we can hit some of those topics, like mental health. That's mental illness and mental health. There's lots of discussion about how does that reconcile to faith, and
Yes.
does that, if you struggle with mental illness, is that something that says something about your faith as a Christian? Is it something, there's lots of things around mental health that we can discuss. We can hit some big topics like abortion.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
I was just, I don't know. So we can talk about it.
I'll look at you.
Right.
But
don't look at Mark. He gets all uncomfortable.
Well, abortion is it's a hot topic.
yes,
Yeah.
it is.
You look in the political world, you look in the news world, even in the faith, the spiritual world. Abortion is a hot topic, and even there's truth. And how do we handle that?
Mhm.
I think some other things we'll talk about is some of the spiritual sides of things that people don't understand, like spiritual gifts.
Yes.
What do those mean? What are they? How do they differ in each people's faith?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of things we can deal with.
And politics.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we want to
Yeah,
get into
we're gonna
politics.
go there.
You've always heard what is that? You should never discuss politics,
Religion.
and
or politics?
religion or politics, and we're doing both. With people, because it can ruin a relationship fast. And I've been firsthand to that. No matter how many facts you put out, sometimes, no matter what you show them, it doesn't matter. But what God was teaching me in those instances is that, hey, see them first before you try to teach them something. Before you try to convince them of something, see them first, because you don't know what they've been through first before you try to put this on them. So we want to be able to talk about politics. We said it. We want to be able to talk about politics from different sides of the spectrum. So that's going to be a good one, and we want to invite some politicians up here as well, and look them in the eye, and and see what's really going on. And I love the topics that you were talking about as far as the way Christianity divides too. I mean, there's me and my wife. There's so many denominations. There's so many versions of the Bible. I mean, these don't look like they divide, but they really do, because especially for new Christians, who do we believe? Right. It kind of reminds me of the MLMs. Well, one sells it, they all sell the same product, and then one say, hey, come over here, we're better, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of reminds me of something like that, to where it divides. So we want to talk about that. Want to talk about a lot of different things that a lot of podcasts get into, but they're so one-sided. Yeah. And they actually have their audience, and they're just, now forget the truth. We just know our audience, and this is what they want to hear, and you're not realizing how you're leading people wrong by doing that.
Yeah. What about racism?
Oh, racism.
Man,
how did I forget that?
I'm excited to talk about that.
Oh, that's good.
That is the one thing in today's world that gets my ire up. How can people hate other people based on the melanin count in their skin? I don't understand that. And I as Christians, I think we have some work to do there.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because there's been a lot of racism in the name of Christianity. So yes, I'm actually glad you brought that up, man. I like that. But we're going to take these topics seriously too. We want to have fun, but like, this is a battlefield. We're in a spiritual war, whether you believe it or not. And there's a lot of things going on that are leading all of us, astray, that sometimes we're just not aware of. You know what I mean? And we've been, like you said, racism. I believe that is, just to talk a little bit on that, it's passed down, it's taught.
Yes.
There's no other way. I mean, I've seen little kids, they don't care about, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
And God tells us to be like, look, because of that pureness that they have, we have to corrupt them. Mm-hmm. So yes, that's going to be a good topic. And we're going to have to look at, see who we can get on that show. Maybe some Black Israelites or some people who are looking for, fighting that fight every day to change things. something like that. So we'll have some really good guests on the show too. And you guys can help us with some of them too. We'll have some on our website. We'll have a form to where we can, some people can sign up to be a guest. So yeah, this is the first episode.
Yeah.
We just wanted to introduce ourselves, introduce the podcast, and don't forget to share with your friends and family. Be interactive and come with those hard questions.
And check out the website because we're going to be hanging out on there.
Yeah, we're going to be.
So if you got questions,
that's true.
We'll be hanging out on there. We'll be happy to talk with you on the website. There's a lot of information there for you. I'm excited about this because being in ministry, it seems like I only get to walk in certain circles.
Oh, that's true.
And most of them have a Christian background or somebody that's in ministry. Very seldom do I get to get outside of those circles and talk to other people. And that's what I'm really excited about because, most of the people I talk to are bent like me. They think like me. They
that's true.
So I want to hear what's on other people's minds and hearts and things that they deal with. And so hopefully that will happen.
That's a point. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I agree because that's one of the things that I started a couple of years ago was intentionally trying to connect with people because we're in an echo chamber. Everybody's in these echo chambers. So you go and I always tell our congregation, it's like if you get your news from a 24-hour news station, you're influenced because their main goal is viewership, and so they're going to tell you and spin things to what you want to hear. But yeah, I started trying to branch out and say. And so I've got, on the political spectrum, Democrat friends and Republican friends. And as I try to listen, I find that there's a lot of times they're saying the same thing. And then you start really taking a step back and looking at the political candidates, and they're all saying the same thing, but from different perspectives. And that's where I heard a old, I think it was supposed to be a Native American proverb. I don't know if it is or not, but it just says when you understand the right wing and the left wing are attached to the same bird, you understand our political system a little better. And we've had Democrat presidents, Republican presidents, and our nation hasn't really gotten better. We're not trying to work together anymore. We're not trying to say let's make America. Even those that claim make America great and all this stuff. They're wanting their version of America to be great. Yes. They don't want America as a whole with those that are different than them to be great. And how does that work? And so
I think that's a good topic too. What would that look like? Because we always talk about we want things better. We want, let's just pick one topic like the homeless, right? Okay. So if we want to get rid of the homeless, what does that really look like? Right. Because we've never experienced a life with no homeless. So what does that really look like? Because they would all need jobs. They would all need, so these type of things. And I'm not saying, I'm just thinking about that because we do talk about the world being a certain place, but that in itself is going to be a battle because something's going to have to change.
Yeah. And I think I view so many things, so many parts of our life, like a GPS or, Google Maps and navigation and stuff. I say GPS, I talk to high schoolers and they look at me strange and I'm like, okay, GPS stands for positioning system, man. But when you input, if you're going somewhere and you're using your phone for navigation, the phone is telling you where you're at, right? It's giving you your location. You input the destination and then it calculates the route. Well, what's happened with all of these big problems, we never set the destination.
Yes.
We don't like where we're at.
Yeah, we don't.
And we want to be somewhere different that's better, right? But we never say, well, what's better look like?
What does that look like?
Because that determines the path, And so often that's the thing. We want people to communicate better. Well, okay, what's that look like?
Yeah. What do with our company? One of the things we do, we set out. We say, where are you? Where do you want to be? And then what are you willing to change? Yeah. And that what are you willing to change?
Questions.
It gets people every time because they're like, well, I want you to do something. You know what I'm saying? But we said we can't do it, and like we can't run your company for you.
Right.
You have to understand what we're trying to do. You're going to have to change something for anything to grow. And I think, you said it right. Everybody's talking about they want this, they want that, but what does that really look like? You're not realizing, you're not really putting in like what you really have to change. And that goes with me and my wife too. We've talked about deny yourself. That is such a huge thing, because us as Christians, we want to introduce everybody to Jesus, right? And Jesus is the most amazing thing ever, right? Beyond amazing, comprehended. But with that deny yourself, we have to realize what we're asking people